Welcome to the Stanish Inquisition, a podcast where Stan Zalowski, serial entrepreneur and CEO of Movista, talks with guests about anything, from family life to personal life, recipes for success, or grandma's potato salad. The name is dark, but the content isn't. It's often unexpected, occasionally funny, sometimes irreverent, but always interesting.
Hello, and welcome live from the Movista studios here in the Ice House in Bentonville, Arkansas. Super excited to have Debbie Jones here with us today.
And I am super excited to be here.
So, Debbie, tell them what you do.
I am Superintendent of Bentonville Schools in Bentonville, Arkansas.
So, if we go way back in time, and you're a baby or a little person, where would we be?
You would start in Charleston, Arkansas, on the farm, raised by my father was an educator, football coach, and a farmer. And my mother was the chief administrator's admin at Mercy Hospital in Fort Smith. And so, that was, it's foundational to who I am today, because I had two very hardworking parents who taught us a great work ethic and taught us the difference between right and wrong. And, people look at my job and say, wow, that's a huge district, lots of responsibility, and I can really sum it up in one sentence. You can be successful in this school district if you live by, you do things right.
Wow. That's really fantastic.
I learned that on the farm. When we didn't do what we were supposed to, then we'd go out and pull grass out of the strawberries, or we'd have to. I got my tan back in the days before we wore lots of sunscreen on the tractor raking hay.
And what were you into as a young person?
I was into softball, basketball, any athletic event that my dad could put us in. We were highly involved.
Okay.
I was in student council and leadership. We were always involved in something. And, having that community around is what I wish for every student. I don't care what they're involved in, but I want them to be involved and engaged in something where their passion lies. And so part of our goal is always to create those opportunities for kids where they belong and they prosper and they bloom.
Love it. Man, that is so powerful. And I love that it comes from, that's what I like about this podcast is just connecting the dots through people's lives, right? You enjoyed that. That brought value into your life, so you can deliver, it will deliver value for others, right? So you're an all-world athlete. Did you go to the Olympics or anything?
I did not go to the Olympics.
Okay.
I finished my basketball career at high school, and honestly, I was happy to start that next chapter of my life. I went to U of A. And honestly, I asked my dad, I don't know what I want to do. And he said, you'll make a great English teacher. Mm-hmm. And so I minded Dad, and I went to school to be an English teacher, loved it. I would say the next thing that really has created an administrator in me or affected me most in my thinking is having children. Mm-hmm. Having that experience of having your own, I always use this as my measure. If that class is not good enough for me to put my own children in that classroom, then it's not good enough for anyone. And so that's a high standard.
Yeah.
If adults think about, is it good enough for your own?
It's the super highest standard.
And that's the standard that we always have to maintain.
So what do you get your degree in then? English and then education?
It was secondary English education.
Okay.
And when I started, while I received a good education in Charleston, Arkansas,
yeah,
I ran into students that came from Bentonville and some of the larger school districts, and they had such a bigger reading repertoire than I did. Mm-hmm. And they had read everyone, and very quickly I realized I was a small town girl. Mm-hmm. And it was shocking, and it's challenging. I still remember what a challenge it was, and so I found myself reading everything and trying to catch up as quickly as I could.
You're in college. You're done now. And now, if you let me just skip to this part so I know how it all connects. You meet your husband when?
Okay, so I met my first husband.
Oh, good. We had a tester.
It was at the test here.
No, I'm saying I call the first spouse. If it doesn't last, I mean, if it's like
it only lasted 23 years.
Oh, wow.
3 adorable, wonderful kids.
Oh, wow.
Catholic family, grew up. All my family was Catholic. His family was Catholic.
Okay.
If I had to point to the hardest thing I've ever done, it's divorce.
Yeah.
And I think you learn something from everything.
Yeah.
When I talk with women in the workforce now, I talk a lot about this. And I accept a lot of the responsibility for the divorce because I was raised by that mother that did everything, all the cooking, all the cleaning. My father would not, and a wonderful man, but he would not have known how to work the washing machine.
Right.
And so that's how I operated my home with 3 children, finished my master's, finished my doctorate, and had a full-time administrative position, assistant soup, at the time when I divorced. And then I was mad at him that he didn't do more, but I really didn't let him do more.
Right.
And that's so unhealthy. And I look at the millennials that have babies now and think, oh, I hope you're sharing the ownership of that home, the ownership of the kids. But, in reality, I thought, and this was very selfish and untrue, but I thought I was the best parent and I was scared to turn my babies over to him.
I bet you were a great parent. But, the thing is, that's an interesting question, right? So, first of all, I'm sorry you had to go through that. And that does stink.
It always stinks.
It's so painful.
Yeah.
The thing about being a parent, right? And because I think this overlaps so much with education, the idea that we're just going to let the schools educate our children, that's not realistic, right? I mean, you just can't. And so I want to circle back to this whole thing of parenting. My guess is you were a phenomenal parent in the scale of parents. Mm-hmm. I don't even think there is such a thing. Like as people say it, oh, that's such a great parent. Well, usually what we mean is that's someone who's really, really, really focused on their kids. Mm-hmm. And there's this level of that becomes not a good idea.
You're exactly right.
Right? I don't know. I'm responding to that because anyone who says what you said and says, I've thought about it, I questioned my behavior, I considered how it was impacting other people, that pretty much tells you that you are a good parent.
Well, I can say we both were really good parents.
There you go.
We were.
I like that.
And the one thing that we know, every time we're dealing with a difficult parent, here's one thing I know in my heart. They love their kids. They're going to do whatever they can to do the best for their kids. And I would do the very same thing.
That's an interesting insight.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the reason you're interacting with that parent is because they care for their kid. That's a very interesting insight and really a thoughtful point. Doesn't mean they're necessarily well directed,
Not always.
Sometimes they're more thrust than vector, so they're kind of going. But it is a cool thing that you've identified that and you actually consider it when you're. So what's it like? I mean, what percentage of your time as a superintendent is spent dealing with parents who super love their kids?
I love the way you put that. I think about brain research every time I deal with one of those parents, and they're completely unreasonable. I realize, when you're really stressed
mm-hmm.
and you can't think of the word you're supposed to be thinking of or you can't act, they're in that mode.
Mm-hmm.
And so listening and having patience, it varies. Sometimes during athletic season, it can be very, very high. There are certain seasons.
What's that about? But people not being able to compete, children being
not getting enough playing time, not getting the recognition many times that parents think that they deserve. There's a lot of that, but also I just go back to they are advocating for the people they love most in this world.
Mm-hmm. Do you do a lot of advocacy for policy?
When I have to.
Yeah.
Doing the superintendent's job is a full-time job, and so I really don't have the time to go spend in the legislature. But I did this session on 2 issues, really big issues. Number one, facilities money. we're growing so much in Bentonville.
Yeah, sure.
We'll build 11 buildings in 13 years needed just for student space. And the formula that was being recommended would remove our state support for facility money and basically send money to poverty districts where they may or may not be growing. And so we really had to work that legislation. And rather than losing all 32% of state support, we did lose down to about 17, but 17% is still considerable on a $20 million elementary building. So we saved some of it. The other issue was violent offenders. We have to be notified in the school district when our students are arrested for violent offenses. And I'm talking about burglary with a weapon.
Yep.
Because they can't walk in your schools and have done those things or been accused of having done those things without you having a plan. So we did pass that successfully. It requires notification to the superintendent within 24 hours. And then as soon as we know, we put an action plan in place.
Is this for parents or?
It's for the school. It's for, because of this recent legislation, we're able to notify those that have a direct interest in the student. For example, teachers.
Right.
We couldn't tell teachers before.
So but I'm trying to be clear here. So is this, if I have a child in the school system, or is this the educators and administrators, et cetera, themselves? Or is it
This
both?
is children. This is for students.
Oh, I understand now. I'm
Yes.
sorry. So these are probably older students.
High school students.
Got it.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I was
Yes.
confused. Okay. That's common sense. But I know it has to be legislated.
Yes. So we know.
But it's common sense. So, okay. So let me just go back and finish this leap real quick. So how do you get from there to here? How do you get this job?
Well, when I was at Bryant, Bentonville is the measuring stick for all other school districts in Arkansas. When I was at Bryant, my board asked me to pull the 7 comparable school districts, and we would measure our scores, our ACT scores, our AP scores, all that every year. And we were good, and our bar would climb, but then that Bentonville came in, and they always beat us. And so I always held Bentonville in high regards. Mike Poor was superintendent here.
Knew Mike well.
When I was at Bryant, I brought teams of teachers up here to study certain things. How do you do math? How do you teach math? And it was, how do you do your PLCs? And I would take that back to improve within my own district. So I got to know Mike that way. When he had an opening for a deputy soup, then he contacted me.
Okay.
And so I moved up here February 1, 2016. My husband is the coach at Bentonville West. He's an assistant football coach, high school coach.
What's he coach?
Football.
No, but what?
Coach quarterbacks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it was a good move for us.
So now Mike, ironically, kind of passes you on the highway because he goes to Little Rock.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I got to know Mike some when he was here. He's a great guy.
Yes, he is.
And so now, what is the process by which this all goes down, right?
Okay. So I was up here by February, started the deputy job.
Yeah.
And within a few months, by April, Mike was going to Little Rock.
Did you know?
I did not know that was
okay.
in the works.
Would that be bad if you did? I mean, I don't
know. I don't think so.
Okay.
But I had no idea that was coming.
Did he know, you think, when he brought you up here?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I really don't.
Okay. He's not here to.
No, I don't think so.
I'm totally fascinated by how. Okay, so keep going.
He loves a good challenge. And so the board started a national search. And one of the board members mentioned me applying for the job. And I have to really apologize to all women out there as I say this. I did not apply for the job because my experience had told me big school district, they're going to hire a white male, and they're going to hire a white male from outside of Arkansas because that's what they have done my 25 years in education. And I had just lived through that whole political process in Little Rock, and I'm like, I'm good. I don't want to fight this fight. I will be very productive in my job. I'll just do my job and let them bring in a superintendent from out of state. And now I knew I could do the job because my experiences before this gave me really a good head start. And so they went through the national search. They interviewed, second round interviews. The very day I was offered the job, I met with Graham Cobb. It was before Graham came along. It was with the chamber, my chamber group. And we were setting up interviews for the 2 finalists. And I was arranging that for them. Got to that board meeting that night. I'm sitting in the boardroom. The board's in executive session, and Travis Riggs comes out and does his finger at me to come here. And he said, "We want to offer you the job. Will you accept it?"
I have chill bumps.
And
what a cool moment.
And I'm like,
were you totally floored?
Yes.
You had no idea he was going to.
No, I had no idea he was going to do that. I was full prep for that national candidate. And so I said, well, yes, I will accept it. And at that moment, I'm like, if I wanted this job, why did I not put my name in the hat from the beginning? And that's really a lesson for all.
Have you told this story before?
Yes, at the women's conference, I've told this story.
Well, I don't get to go. No one invited me to the women's conference.
They don't let you go?
Well, no. I don't know why.
I have, and I tell this as a lesson to my daughters too. If, number one, you're qualified for that job, apply for the job. Don't rely on what experience has told you. Be brave. Step up. You can do the job. You have that confidence for a reason. And so I accepted it, and Travis said, well, you probably need to call your family because as soon as we announce this, it's going to be on Twitter.
Right.
And I called home.
Oh, it's live stream. Those board meetings are live stream.
It was.
Trust me.
And so they put me on speakerphone, and my son's like, Mom, I thought you didn't even apply for that job. And I didn't. And so it was a great moment for us.
Wowzer. That is one of the most incredible things I've ever heard. I honestly, like in the context of like, I don't even know. I'm very rarely speechless. Anyone who knows me would confirm that. I am floored by that. But good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them.
I know.
For saying, well, we'll help her even though she can't help herself in this particular situation, right?
Life teaches us lessons forever.
And also awesome for you for recognizing in retrospect what the lesson was. So they're like, hey, congratulations, you've caught the roadrunner. Now what you going to do? So then immediately you go to work and look, in your role, you always have to have some goals, some agenda items, some things you're trying to accomplish. Sounds like some of those were legislative. What else? What are the big things that you're trying to knock out?
Well, I'll tell you that first year, here's what kept playing in my head. Bentonville is a top-notch school district. Learn what they're doing, first of all. Don't come in. Many times superintendents will step in and they think that they have to have all this change
every time,
these new programs, and that's not what's best for students. It wasn't best for the school district. So for a year, you had to make decisions and make changes where you had to, but overall watch what they're doing well and evaluate. And so that's what I did. But during that time, also, life keeps moving quickly, and education especially. And one thing that I'm very proud, Mike started the Ignite. It's a professional career studies program. Started with 16 kids in IT. And I will tell you, because this was part of my job as assistant commissioner at ADE, I was over all the charters. I was on the charter review panel, and so I got to see some of the cutting edge stuff that was brought to that board, that panel. I was over Schools of Innovation, so I read all of those programs, and nowhere in the state is there a better career studies program than found in Ignite, and that's due to the director, Teresa Hudson. She's awesome, but the strength of the program is they are in this class for 2.5 hours every day. And this class may be medical professions, film, graphic design, culinary arts at Brightwater, construction. We have 8 different pathways. They are getting college credit in every one of those pathways, so that if they graduate from Construction Ignite, then they can go on to NWAC and get their construction management degree, turn it into a 4-year degree, go to John Brown or go to Pitt State up here. So all these pathways are lined out to where they could go as far as they want to go. Or if they're in IT and they're doing an internship at some of our local businesses, for example, RevUnit has hired 4 of our students directly out of high school now, making good money. And here's what we ask of our businesses, that they give them real projects you would have your adults work on, the same expectations that you have for your adults, but it might be like number 10 on your to-do list.
Right.
It's one of those projects, may not be at the top, and then the critical part is that you're giving them feedback. This is good, this is bad, no, you can't do this. And we have kids on the floor everywhere. If you go to your doctor, our kids are probably interning.
It's like a modern day, what would you call it? It's a work study.
Apprenticeship.
But apprenticeship. And that's super interesting. What I love about it is back in the day, it would have been carpentry and drywall and auto shop and whatever. And you guys are saying, no, these aren't the skills that are going to carry you into this century. And I think that's brilliant. Listen, you have been so candid and so, this is amazing to me to spend this time with you. We live in a very special place.
We do.
We have a lot of, we're very, very fortunate to have a lot of resources. And some of them are financial resources. There are a lot of highly educated people that live in this town, in this area. And I don't think this probably varies 1% one way or the other, but a lot of people who care deeply for their kids and want to see them get a great education. I don't always agree with the policy of our school board or whatever, but I always feel like everyone's trying to do their best, and I love that. I love that.
They certainly are.
Yeah, I really believe that, and you just 100% of the people are not going to agree with anything.
Absolutely,
it doesn't matter, right? But ultimately, I want to thank you for coming in today.
Enjoyed it.
I want to thank you for your work. I want to encourage people who may be listening to this and are saying, I'd like to make a difference in my community, whether you're here or, in Colorado or Mexico or Bulgaria. I guarantee you that your school district could use your help. Volunteer, lend $1, do something, right? Try to make a difference. It's just good to know that good people are sort of at the wheel of this thing. So we'll do this again later.
I would love to.
So we can do catch-ups and what
right.
are we working on right now. But again, thanks for coming in.
All right. I want to leave you with one teaser. We can revisit. We have worked through the bugs to create a 100% online school.
Wow.
With a Bentonville diploma, which we did not do lightly. Bentonville teachers, lots of involvement, piloted, had great success with our kids. And we, as of today, we probably have 50 students registered for this upcoming August.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Is this high school age?
It is grades 5 through 12.
Holy moly.
Yes.
So this is homeschool from a sense of I don't have to go to a
right.
brick and mortar facility.
Right.
And I can get the same diploma.
Yes, you can.
And I can play sports.
Yes, you can. Or orchestra or band.
Listen, you don't need new buildings. You just need more. You just need more logins.
That's right. And I would predict we will triple the number by this time next year.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Wow, that is a great teaser.
Does
it have a catchy name?
It's Bentonville Virtual School.
All right.
You can help me with the marketing.
When this meeting is over, immediately we're going to work on this.
Okay. I accept.
That is so smart.
It is. It's a good thing.
All right. Listen, I'm blown away by this conversation. We're going to keep people all day. So there's a lot of smart people out there doing a lot of great work. Pitch in, will you? Until next time, Stan Zlowski signing off from the Movista Studios. Have a great day.